Hello, 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 and welcome back to Spin Cycle Live. I am your host, Nathan Hale. Today, we are back with yet another episode for you all. We have got so much to cover. We have Democrats keeping the Senate shut down. We have Donald Trump invoking the Insurrectionist Act in Portland, or at least thinking about doing it. We have another Biden cover. That's right, another one. They keep more and more keep coming out as time goes on. We keep learning about more and more cover-ups. And finally, we have the Attorney General scandal that is unfolding in Virginia right now. All that and more right here on Spin Cycle Live. Let's get going. So you're not already following the show on all the social media platforms, please do so. YouTube, Rumble, X, that's where the show goes out live every Tuesday and Thursday. We're in season 3 once again. It's been great. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. I looked it up. We're coming up. I believe October 20th is our 1-year anniversary of this show. So I'll have to do something kind of special for that. I don't know. Maybe I won't do anything special. Maybe we'll just be business as usual. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. If you have suggestions on what we should do for the 1-year anniversary, let us know. I can't believe that I have put out at least one episode a week for almost the past year, sometimes even more. I mean, over the summer we were doing 3 episodes a week for you all. So kind of toned it back a little bit to just kind of work out better. I think it's a good schedule doing a Tuesday Thursday show. But if you have suggestions of what we should do for 1 year, let me know. Send me a message. But yeah, I guess we ought to just get right into our first story. We have so much to cover and so little time to do so, as always. So let's go and pull this up. So this comes from the New York Post. Now, New York Post has reported on another Biden cover-up. So we've had cover-up after cover-up after cover-up from the Biden administration, as we have these amazing people in our government right now, like John Radcliffe, director of the CIA, who we're going to see is releasing information in just a moment. We're just learning more and more and more about truly how we did not have a executive branch of our country for the past 4 years. We really haven't. We had Joe Biden being just unconscious the entire time. We all know Kamala wasn't doing anything. She couldn't run a business to save her life, and that's oftentimes what the president has to do. They're the CEO of the United States. So who was running the country? I think it was the party elite within the Democratic Party that was running the country. I think it was all of the bureaucrats that were running the White House behind the scenes. That's just my opinion. So Biden covered up Ukrainian complaints of corruption, double standard, secret CIA files reveal. So trying to scroll down here. What's going on? New York Post, what's going on with your website? All right. So, Ukrainian officials were left bewildered and disappointed by Vice President Joe Biden's December 2015 trip to Kyiv. This goes all the way back to 2015, folks. This goes back to when he was vice president. This one goes back before Trump, during which he gave a speech decrying corruption as a cancer, with Ukrainians accusing the U.S. of a double standard, giving Biden's family's ties to corrupt energy firm Burisma a trove of newly declassified Obama-era intelligence reveals. In an extreme departure from normal practice, the report on Ukrainian displeasure was suppressed by the request of Biden's then National Security Advisor, Dr. Kyle, and did not appear in the presidential daily brief, according to a senior CIA official who briefed journalists this week. Kyle, quote, would strongly prefer the report not be disseminated, wrote a correspondent identified only as PDF briefer in an email to the CIA on February 10th, 2016. So this is still during the Obama administration. Thanks for understanding. Quote, PDF briefer was likely Deputy Director of National Intelligence Michael Dempsey, who provided an intelligence briefing to President Barack Obama every morning at that time. Dempsey reported to then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, who has been implicated in the Russiagate scandal to sabotage Donald Trump's first presidential term. Clapper is reportedly under investigation by a federal grand jury examining the role of former Obama administration officials in concocting the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. Let's just pause right there for a moment. So, we are seeing more and more and more that even going all the way back to the Obamas, like we knew Obama was a corrupt president. We knew that Obama has wrecked the core of America since he was elected, right? Obama came in as this guiding figure. He was going to bring unity. He was going to make America this great, amazing place. He was going to bring people together. He's the first black president in the country. He's going to bring so many people together. Oh my God. And what did he do? He divided people even more. And he put people in his government that did the dividing for him. He put people in, like James Clapper, like Michael Dempsey, to run these government departments. And, if you're Obama, you're probably pretty happy with this. You got what you wanted. You got the country divided. You got the most corrupt people in government put in place to run the government going forward. That's why it's so important what Trump is doing right now with cleaning house. That's why I keep saying we need to clean house. Because think about it. James Clapper and Michael Dempsey, I believe they're both cabinet level positions, so they get approved by the Senate, right? So as new presidents come in, those positions change. But what about all the people that Michael Dempsey hired? What about all the people in the intelligence agencies that were hired by these corrupt people that Obama and Joe Biden put in place? What about all of them? They're still in power right now. They're still there. We don't know who they are. They are faceless bureaucrats that were employed by these people on the dime of the American people to run corruption in this country. And I'm sure corruption is still happening. And I'm sure there are people in these departments who are actively trying to undermine the president as hard as they can. This is why it's so important that we need a clean house. We have to have large firings of people across the government and get new people in. New people that are being hired by our guys, by conservatives. People who actually want to run the country, who actually want to create a better place for the American people. Because right here, we can just stop right here and not even go further. This is just insane to me that this was happening, right? We all knew it was corrupt, but now we're actually getting the actual evidence that proves that the corruption was in fact happening, right? This isn't just Trump saying that Obama is corrupt anymore. This is a fact. This was a corrupt administration under Obama. This was a corrupt administration under Joe Biden. The corruption goes from the top all the way down to the bottom. So I'm so grateful for people we have in power right now under the Trump administration. I think this is one of the best governments that has been assembled in a really long time in America. So let's continue. So the President Daily Briefing, the classified product of all 18 U.S. intelligence agencies, is meant to serve as an early warning to the Commander-in-Chief of nascent crisis and looming problems across the globe. So this was information of intelligence value that came into the possession of CIA in late 2015, said the senior CIA official. Quote, normally, this intelligence report would be disseminated to individuals with an appropriate clearance and need to know within the U.S. government. Quote, however, in February 2016, the Vice President's National Security Advisor told his intelligence briefer that he would strongly prefer the report not be disseminated, so the report never saw the light of day. So we can't entirely blame Obama for not doing anything about this, considering that he wasn't told, that he wasn't even ever handed this report, right? But he still chose Joe Biden to be his vice president. He still picked the racist homophobe that is Joe Biden. The report and email were recently discovered during an internal review of historical agency records and databases ordered by CIA Director John Radcliffe. As of mid-December 2015, the 8-page report says officials within the administration of Ukrainian presidential Petro Poroshenko expressed bewilderment and disappointment at the 7-8 December 2015 visit on the Vice President of the United States to Kyiv, Ukraine. These officials, quote, these officials assessed that the U.S. Vice President had come to Kyiv almost exclusively to give a generic public speech and had not had any intention of discussing substantial matters with the President of Ukraine or other officials within the Ukrainian government. After Biden left, the report goes on, the Ukrainian officials, quote, privately mused at the U.S. media scrutiny of the alleged ties of the U.S. Vice President's family to corrupt business practices in Ukraine, which they viewed as evidence of a double standard within the United States government towards matters of corruption and political power. At the same time, Biden, now 82, delivered an anti-corruption screen in the Ukrainian parliament. His son Hunter was receiving $1 million a year to sit on the board of Burisma. A month before Biden's visit, his fifth since February 2014 maiden revolution topped Moscow-aligned Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych. A Burisma executive emailed Hunter a list of deliverables in return for his board compensation. The demands included getting high-ranking U.S. officials to put pressure on the Ukrainian government in support of Burisma owner Mykolaiv Zlochevsky, who was then under investigation for corruption in Kyiv's prosecutor general Viktor Shokin. The ultimate purpose is to close down any cases, pursuits against Zelensky in Ukraine, said Vladimir. I'm butchering these names, guys. I'm truly sorry. You can see on the screen right there. I'm reading right off the screen. In November 2015 email, which appears in Hunter's abandoned laptop. Right. The Hunter Biden laptop scandal, right? That was covered up by the U.S. government. Another scandal right there. Scandal, there's scandal, there's scandal. Had we known about these, the election would have been changed. It's very likely we would have different election outcomes in 2020 had this information been public. Had we known about this. Especially the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. 3 days before Biden landed in Kyiv on December 4th, 2015, the Veep joined Hunter, Zelensky, and Pozharsky on a speakerphone call on the night of a Burisma board meeting in Dubai. Devin Archer right here, back in the news again, Hunter's former friend and fellow Burisma board member testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2023 that Zelensky and Pozharsky were getting pressure and they requested Hunter's help with some of that pressure. Later clarifying that the pressure was from Ukrainian government investigators into Zelensky's conduct by Sorkin. Days later, Biden threatened Poroshenko that he would withhold $1 billion in loan guarantees unless Sorkin was fired. Quote, I looked at them and said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money. Biden boasted during a 2018 speech at the Council of Foreign Relations. Quote, well, son of a bitch, he got fired, and they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Sorkin's replacement, Yuri Lysenko, subsequently dropped all investigations of the Burisma and Zelensky. How convenient! How convenient! Newly declassified FBI source files made public last month contain allegations that 2 CIA officers urged Lysenko to stop the investigations of Zelensky because the Burisma owner was protected by the U.S. How convenient. Quote, this is extremely rare and unusual, the senior CIA official said of the report's suppression. Quote, quite frankly, it is inappropriate to go outside the intelligence community and inquire with the White House on a dissemination of a particular report of what appears to be political reasons. Quote, the typical production process of intelligence reports does not involve anyone outside the intelligence community. Career CIA analysts who recently reviewed the report have concluded that it contained information, quote, of intelligence value and should have been disseminated because it would have been information that would be useful and beneficial to U.S. government officials in their dealings with the Ukrainian government. Quote, that's why it should have been disseminated, but it was not, the official went on, and therefore policymakers were never informed of the information. Director Radcliffe believes this is an example of the kind of politicalization of intelligence that we need to work to eliminate in the intelligence community and of which we will have zero tolerance. It's not clear from CIA records how the report was initially shared with VP Biden's office, quote, but it is clear that something very unusual and out of the ordinary practice occurred. In 2021, Kyle was nominated by President Biden to the key Pentagon post of Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. During his contentious confirmation process, Republican lawmakers cited his midnight anti-Trump tweets, included one of 2020 railing against the Republican Party's death cult fertile to Trump. Another tweet from Kyle in 2024 after he had left government service for the job at Stanford University said, quote, I love Joe Biden. Of course he does. He's a suck-up. That's the face of a suck-up right there, guys. That's the face of a suck-up. It is truly disgusting to me what we are learning took place in the United States government. Every single one of us should be disgusted, regardless of how you feel about Democrats or Republicans at this time, for what took place in the U.S. government under Joe Biden and under Barack Obama. It's truly disgusting. I want to commend people like John Radcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard for releasing information like this and making it public to the American people. This is how we rebuild trust in our government, right? We rebuild trust by making everything public. And we say, hey, this was a screw up. This was a massive screw up by our government. But you know what? It stops with us. And we're telling you about it because we believe that we can trust you with this knowledge. You are an American and you deserve to know what took place in your government. You deserve to know what took place using the money that you pay every year in taxes. We all pay thousands of dollars in taxes that make their way back to the federal government in one way or another. And they're using that money to fund things like this. These people were paid by your tax dollars. They are accountable to you. And this is what went on. It's just disgusting. And I'm proud that we have a government right now that's willing to release this information and just not keep it covered even more, right? Because Joe Biden had the opportunity to release this information. Joe Biden had the opportunity to come clean and say, hey guys, this report was covered up. It was wrong for us to do it. It won't be happening anymore. They could come up with any BS excuse to admitting to this themselves, and it would have it would have gone by so much easier, right? But instead now we're finding out about these things and we're learning about it from our strong government that we have right now, from the Avengers. Make no mistake, our government right now is a government of Avengers. They are going out and finding the corruption that's happened in the past and getting these people out and making it public so we know what happened, so it never happens again. And we need to remember this going forward, that when there's a hint of corruption, there's corruption everywhere, right? There's never just one mouse. There's never just one, right? When there's an infestation, there's never just one cockroach. They're everywhere. Once there's one, there's a million. Let's go and move on. So CBS News has a new editor-in-chief. So panic spreads at CBS News as Bari Weiss becomes editor-in-chief. Bari Weiss is an interesting figure. I'm really happy about this decision, honestly. Could they have picked people better than Bari to run CBS? Absolutely. But we might actually start getting some some actual journalism out of CBS. We'll see. So CBS News journalists have expressed fear now that Bari Weiss, who resigned from the New York Times due to opposition from woke staffers, being made editor-in-chief. Several sources close to CBS News confirmed to The Independent that journalists within the network feel it is, quote, not a good place right now. The imminent arrival of anti-woke and sternly pro-Israel heterodox pundit Bari Weiss as the editor-in-chief of CBS News has left the newsroom staff literally freaking out, with sources telling The Independent that the Tiffany network is, quote, not a good place right now. The rising frustration among the network's journalists also has been compounded by the fact that David Ellison, the chief executive of the newly merged Paramount Skydance, is preparing to implement brutal layoffs and slash up to 10% of CBS News' staff, all while paying Weiss up to $150 million to acquire her digital media outlet, the Free Press. Some reporters, however, were criticized as potentially appreciating Bari Weiss due to her stance in Israel. Quote, I think there are some people there that are like, yes, get her in here because they care about one issue, and that's Israel, one reporter said. Reporters, for the most part, were less than enthusiastic. Quote, people are using words like depression and doomsday, feels like some sort of doomsday, a reporter said. Quote, I think the ombudsman, Bari Weiss, and the impending massive layoffs are all coming in a couple of weeks, have everyone just kind of freaking out, like literally freaking out, another said. Quote, it's not a good place right now. There was a proper way to do this and not a proper way, and they're doing it in the non-proper way. And maybe that's by design. My gosh, strong words from anonymous journalists. David Ellison, now CEO of Paramount Skydance after an $8 billion merger, is bringing a media empire spanning CBS, Paramount film, and TV franchise and potentially a stake in TikTok's new U.S. operations. The merger followed a $16 million settlement with Trump over alleged allegations of CBS News bias. Skydance committed to diversify of viewpoints. On Monday, Paramount Skydance CEO David Ellison named Bari Weiss editor-in-chief of CBS News, the news division of the U.S. broadcaster CBS. I want to point out something really fundamental right now. This is the first time this has happened. Bari Weiss went from being in the New York Times, a legacy media outlet, to going and starting her own company, the Free Press, building it up, becoming hyper successful with that, to now being acquired and put in place to run CBS News. An alternative media CEO is now running one of the largest news organizations in the country, CBS News. This is monumental right here. Let's just put aside, let's say that CBS News does not change at all, and it continues to push out the crap it has been pushing out. This is still monumental in that, guys, we as the alternative media, we are winning. We have said time and time again on this show, we are winning the culture war. We are winning with alternative media. CBS, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, all CNN, all of the legacy news networks, including Fox, by the way. Fox is not doing as good as it could be. They are all failing in comparison to people like the Free Press, to people like the Daily Wire, to all the alternative news media outlets out there. We've seen time and time again how people like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson have left current news and gone, or legacy media, and gone to do their own thing, and they've been even more successful because of it. So I commend CBS. I think this is a great decision. I would have done the exact same thing if I were CBS. I would have totally said, hey, let's look at the media landscape. CBS, we are a business. We are a company. We are in the business of making money. What's not making money for us right now? Our news division is losing money. We're not doing as good as we could be. Our viewership is in the crapper. It sucks. It's poo-poo. It's bad. How can we fix this? Well, let's go and look. My God, big brain idea right here. Let's go and look and see where news is being successful. And that is in the alternative news space. Let's go and look, right? Oh, look at this. Bari Weiss is doing great. She's a smart journalist. She's run a company. She knows how to be an executive. Let's bring her in. Let's see how it goes, right? Can't be worse than where we are right now. And I fear that so many of these, or not that I fear, I know for a fact that CNN, MSNBC, all of these news orgs have lost so much viewership because they become so partisan, right? If you go and watch CBS Nightly News, you're just going to hear how awful the country is and how awful Donald Trump is as a president, right? At least if you go and watch Fox, they're going to be at least a little bit critical of some of Trump's viewpoints. Maybe not as much as like the Daily Wire might be, but you at least got a little bit more variety there. But who wants to watch the same crap over and over and over again? I don't. I, as an American, value balanced news. I value knowing the actual facts regardless of the party. On this show, we give credit where credit's due. We say, hey, if a Democrat gets something good, we commend him. I think we talked about John Fetterman on this show not too long ago and how he's like the only sane Democrat left within the party right now, right? He's doing some good stuff. He's saying some good things, right? He's not totally unreasonable, right? And we also criticize Republicans when they do stuff that's absolutely nuts, in my opinion. So I believe that Americans value balanced journalism. I believe that is why the alternative news outlets have become so popular. I believe that is why there's been this huge shift towards the right, because the right is the one who's pushing out balanced journalism right now, frankly. If you watch any of the left-leaning news outlets, it's all the same stuff. So bringing in someone like Bari Weiss, I think is super smart of CBS. I think it'll allow them to mix things up and maybe bring in some new anchors. Maybe get some more balance on these shows that they're pushing out. Get some more balance in the articles that are being pushed out to the public and their readers. So we'll have to see how it goes. I'm interested to see. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on CBS a little bit more going forward. It's going to take probably a little while for her to really ramp things up and change the approach that news is being pushed out with. But it's good. They do need to fire some of these people. They're pushing out crap. So I'm excited to see the future of CBS. It might mean that we have a second major news outlet that is not entirely corrupt. Add them into Fox, right? I don't think Fox is entirely corrupt. But we might have CBS too. And it might help to change some minds a little bit going into 2028, right? We're playing the long game here. But in conclusion, we are winning as the alternative media. We're winning. We have alternative media in the White House press briefing room now. That was one hurdle that we could not overcome until now, until President Trump, right? The legacy media had the monopoly on creating original news stories because they got to be in the White House briefing room, right? So all the alternative news, we were always quoting legacy. But now that we have people, like the Daily Wire has a representative in the White House briefing room. There's others in there as well. They're now getting it directly from the source. They're now creating their own stories. They have field correspondents all over the country now. It's a big deal. So, yeah, I think this was a smart move by CBS, frankly. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on. So, as you know, the government shut down. Democrats shut down the government. Make no mistake about it. If you hear anyone say that Republicans shut it down, simply go and look at the vote to keep the government open, and you'll see that all the Democrats voted against it. I think John Fetterman might have been the only Democrat not to vote against the government shutdown, by the way. I'm not entirely sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking about it. So the Senate fails fifth attempt to reopen the federal government. Fifth attempt to reopen it. Republicans have said 4 other times, let's reopen the federal government. And Democrats said, shut it down. Shut it down. So the Senate votes occurred during the second week of the government shutdown, which began last Wednesday. The House has already passed its continuing resolution, which Senate Republicans are trying to push through their chamber. The Senate on Monday night failed to end debate on reopening the federal government and ending the shutdown. marking the fifth time the upper chamber has declined to fund the government through November 21st. My birthday, by the way. My birthday is November 21st. The Senate votes occurred during the second week of the government shutdown, which began last Wednesday. The House has already passed its continuing resolution, which Senate Republicans are trying to push through their chamber. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer told CNN that he did not speak with Senate Majority Leader John Thune about the shutdown over the weekend. Quote, Republicans need to sit down, roll up their sleeves, and negotiate with us so that we can preserve health care, fight for health care, and the American people, Schumer said. Plain and simple. They got to sit down and talk to us. Gosh darn it, because we have got to give free health care to all the illegal aliens in the United States right now, or else I refuse to open the government back up. They need health care. Gosh darn it. I mean a strong Democrat. And I'm saying that we need health care for all of our illegals. Because I care more about the illegals than anyone else in this country. Notice how they roll up things like health care into like this ooey gooey term so that regular kind of dumb Americans look at this and think that, oh, he's talking about healthcare for me. He's talking about healthcare for everyone. No, he's talking about healthcare for illegals. That's what he's talking about. And if you really wanted to provide healthcare to Americans, you wouldn't have closed the government down. Maybe you need to negotiate a little bit yourself, Chuck Schumer. Maybe you need to negotiate. Because I don't believe you are right now. I don't buy it. When you do not, when you say things that, you know, the Senate shut down the government because they wanted to basically undo the entire big beautiful bill. When you say stuff like that, that's just being unreasonable, right? I recognize that if Democrats were in power and they passed their bill and they had control both chambers and the White House, I don't have any room to negotiate here. I can't really say, hey, I know you just passed this whole huge omnibus bill, but I want you to unpass it. I want you to undo it, or else we're shutting the government down. That's not reasonable for anyone to say, right? Republicans have the majority in both chambers and the White House. They're going to pass these big bills like this. But maybe we can negotiate a little bit on what healthcare means. Just saying. So, Democrats are continuing to keep the government shut down. That should be what this headline says. And it's all Democrats' fault. Plain and simple. So just an update for you on that in case you're wondering. So coming from the Hill. So Trump threatens to invoke Insurrection Act in Portland. So President Trump on Monday said he was considering invoking the Insurrection Act to justify sending federal troops to Portland and avoid any legal hurdles. Trump, in remarks from the Oval Office, likened the situation in Portland to an insurrection, though he said he had yet to make a decision on invoking the Insurrection Act. Portland is on fire. Portland's been on fire for years. It has been on fire for years, by the way, ever since 2020. Trump said, describing the situation as all insurrection. Asked under what conditions he would invoke the Insurrection Act, Trump said he would do it if it was necessary. Quote, so far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason, Trump said. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I might make sure people aren't killed. I want to make sure people aren't killed. There have been protests in Portland dating to June in response to the Trump administration's aggressive deportation efforts. The FBI field office in Portland said Thursday it has made 128 arrests in the city since June 9th. At the same time, Illinois and Chicago earlier Monday sued to block Trump's deployment of National Guard members in the city after the administration moved to send in hundreds of troops. The pro-crime party on display for you, everyone. The pro-crime party, right here, on display. Our city's on fire. Our cities are burning down. We're happy about it, though, because it's the protest of Donald Trump. And crime and violence against the Republicans. It's a good thing. It's never hurt anyone. How has our crime and rhetoric ever hurt anybody? It hasn't ever got anybody killed. I could name a few, but okay. So, yeah, I think that this is the right move to do. Let's do it. Send them in. Take these guys out in Portland. Save our American cities from burning to the ground. I'm here for it. Let's do it. So it's just it truly shows that Democrats are the ones who are standing up for crime. Republicans have been like, yeah, give us the National Guard troops. We'll take them. Let's do it. Let's get our crime shut down. The other thing I'd like to point out is these states are always pointing the finger to other states and saying our crime isn't so bad. It's worse in other places. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're crimeless. Doesn't mean you're free to go. I'm here for it. Let's do it. Send them in. All right. For our last story, and you might have heard about this a little bit already, but I gotta talk about some more. Because we were just talking about how Democrats are the pro-crime party. Democrats are violent. The left is violent. That is my opinion. I believe that to be true. Every piece of available evidence points to it, and yet we have yet another story that points to the left being violent, and that comes out of Virginia. That comes from Democratic Attorney General nominee Jay Jones. Meet the Democrat who fantasizes about shooting a GOP leader. When discussing the story of a Democratic Virginia Attorney General candidate who fantasized about murdering a state GOP leader, we have to understand the reasons why this is happening. There are these gigantic thought structures that have been created and perpetuated generationally by the left that says it's perfectly okay to talk about murdering your political opponents because they are your political opponents. Democratic Virginia Attorney General candidate Jay Jones has recently uncovered text messages fantasizing about murdering a state GOP leader with, quote, 2 bullets to the head and, quote, pissing on the graves of other Republicans. In text messages obtained by National Review, Jones says to another lawmaker that he would use 2 bullets to murder then GOP House Speaker Todd Gilbert. Quote, 3 people, 2 bullets, Todd Gilbert, and Pol Pot Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Jones texted to, I'm guessing, Delegate Kerry Kynor, Republican. Quote, spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew and the other worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Early in the text message, Jones expressed that he would attend the funerals of Republican lawmakers in Virginia, quote, to piss on their graves, send them out awash in something. What apparently ticked him off at the time was that Republican House Speaker Todd Gilbert attended the funeral of Democratic Delegate Joe Johnson, who passed away at the age of 90, and Gilbert said nice things about his late colleague. And this, of course, is what made Jones, the Democrat Virginia AG candidate, very, very angry. A follow-up message from Jones confirmed that he not only wanted to kill Gilbert, but also that he would like to kill Gilbert's children. The Republican state delegate wrote, quote, you weren't simply asking questions and you know it. Jones wrote back, I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. The Republican delegate, quote, you weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Jones, quote, yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. The Republican delegate, quote, I point blank asked you more than 3 times and you dug in that you meant it. I honestly am questioning a lot today. Jones, quote, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they are breeding little fascists? Yes. Do I think that Todd and Jennifer are evil and they are breeding little fascists? This is what the Democrats think of you guys. This is what Democrats think of us. This is being revealed in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and it is insane. Winsome Earl Sears, who's done a great job, by the way, as lieutenant governor of the state, who is running for governor of Virginia and is currently lieutenant governor under Glenn Youngkin, put out a statement calling for the resignation of Jay Jones. She wrote, quote, "This is horrible to read and should be wholly disqualifying as someone running for an office that protects the people of Virginia. Jay Jones' horrific comments are a symptom of the entire Democratic Party, and his running mate, Abigail Spangler, needs to call on him to drop out. Attorney General Jason Myers has served the people of Virginia with honor and dignity and will continue to do so come November. Jay Jones can never be Attorney General of Virginia." Now, the way the mainstream media have covered this is quite wild and also totally insane. First, they claim these are mere allegations that Jay Jones wanted to kill his political opponents. These aren't allegations. He literally said it. If you text someone and then confirm over and over again that you mean a thing, and then you say that children should die because they're little fascists, at a certain point, don't we have to take you at your word? Politico reported the story in the following manner, and it really demonstrates the madness of the legacy media. Quote, "A string of text messages from Jay Jones, Virginia Democratic nominee for Attorney General, where he mused about violence directed towards a political rival, is triggering widespread backlash and threatening to shake up his state's November election." And this is how it always works with the legacy media. If Democrats do a bad thing, the story is Republicans pounce. If Republicans do a bad thing, the story is Republicans did a bad thing. I love the language that Politico used about how Jay Jones, quote, "mused about violence." He was just musing, you know. It's what you do when you call for someone's murder. It's just musing about what would happen if something really bad were to happen to them. Pretty incredible. There's no apology either. And so when we say the legacy media and left have a soft spot in their hearts for murder and terrorism, it appears that there is a lot of truth in that statement. That is 100% true. The left is violent. The left is violent. This is what is happening in this man's private head. I honestly, I'll be so real with you all. I believe that a text message about wanting to kill your rival and their children, I think it's so much worse than literally just coming outright and saying it, honestly, because it shows that that's what's happening in your private head, right? There are things that I do privately that I don't post on the internet, right? I have opinions about politics that I don't post on the internet, right? I don't want to murder anyone. They are minuscule in comparison to what this guy's doing. But this is what this guy is doing privately in his head. This is what he's thinking about when he's not on camera. I think that's worse than what he's thinking about when he's on camera. Let me say this. I'm gonna end with this because we're getting late. I had other things to say about Jay Jones, but I'm gonna end it here. Voters in Virginia, would you seriously consider this? If you elect Jay Jones to be your Attorney General, you will continue to promote the incentive structure that promotes violence within your party. If you elect Jay Jones to be your Attorney General, you are promoting the incentive structure that got Charlie Kirk killed. You are promoting the incentive structure that got Donald Trump shot. And you are promoting the incentive structure that had Donald Trump almost assassinated multiple times. You are promoting the incentive structure of violence, that it's okay, that you can honestly think that your rival should be killed and their children should be killed because you believe they're fascists, which they're not. I bet Jay Jones couldn't even define the term fascism for us. You're promoting that to your state. I don't care what he says. He said it. I don't care what apologies he says. If he gets elected, it won't matter. If he gets elected, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If he gets elected, violence will be perpetuated in your state. If this is how he feels about his rivals, what is going to happen if he does end up being attorney general and someone in his state gets assassinated? Is his office going to give it a fair shake and investigate it properly? If there is political violence in his state, is his office going to effectively go after it? Especially if it's against a Republican, which, let's be perfectly honest, political violence in this country is against Republicans. Our people are getting shot for just saying things on college campuses now. Is that okay? There are so many other Democrats that you could pick that would be better attorney generals than Jay Jones, who have not said that they want to kill other people. It's just disgusting. If a Republican said that they wanted to kill a Democrat, I would be applauded. I would be disgusted. I would be ridiculing them. I would be so angry. That is not the way we do things in this country. We do not say, let's go and murder our rivals. This is the rhetoric, mark my words, make no mistake, this is the rhetoric that gets people like Charlie Kirk killed. When leaders like him come out and say that his rivals are dangerous people, that they are raising fascists, that they're going to take over this country, that Donald Trump is not going to relinquish power, that Donald Trump is a dictator, that Donald Trump is installing a fascist dictatorship into this country, that Donald Trump is Hitler. That is the rhetoric that gets people like Charlie Kirk killed. Because then violent extremists see things like this and say, I guess they are. I guess they are. If my party was saying that we are living in a fascist dictatorship and that Joe Biden is taking over the country and you go on and on and on, I'd be really upset too. Right? But we had 4 years of Joe Biden, and I didn't hear anyone in this country suggesting that Joe Biden was anything near Hitler. I didn't hear any Republicans saying that he wasn't going to relinquish power in 2024. I didn't hear any Republicans suggesting that he was this massive authoritarian dictator. I heard Republicans say that his policies were dictatorial, but not that he himself was one. And it's entirely different saying that a vaccine mandate forcing all of us in this country to get a vaccine to go to work is dictatorial versus saying that his entire administration is one, that he's not going to relinquish power, he's a fascist. Right? It's just disgusting. We will be following this election very closely. This should be an easy win for Winsome Sears. This should be an easy win for her to take. This should be a sweep just because of this story. Abigail Spangler is campaigning with a man who thinks it is okay to kill his political rivals. In fact, he wants to do it. Not even that he's okay with it, that he wants to be the one to put the bullets in their head. Is just disgusting. Just think about that going forward. Just disgusting. Keep an eye on this race. At the very least, Jay Jones should not be elected. At the very least, he should drop out, and Abigail Spangler should pick someone different to be the attorney general that she's running with. That would be the right thing to do. That would show that Democrats are standing against political violence if Abigail Spangler said, you know what? You need to drop out, and we're picking someone different. You're done. Right? Has she done that? No, I don't think so. Will she do that? I also don't think so. I think that he will make it to the ballot. I think people will vote for him. And we're going to see in this election, this is a man who's blatantly promoting political violence, who wants to go and murder someone himself. We're going to see in this election how many people vote for that. We're going to see how many people in this election think it's okay for political violence. It's going to say a lot about Virginia and about this country as a whole if he becomes the Attorney General of Virginia. That's all I gotta say about that. Thank you so much for watching, folks. I appreciate you all so much. This has been a really good show. I feel like we had a lot of really great stories to cover. We had a lot of great things to talk about. We'll be back here on Thursday with another episode of Spin Cycle Live. If you're not following all the platforms already, make sure you're doing so. And let me know what you think of the show. Leave some comments down below. Send me a message on Twitter. My DMs are always open to anyone. I love hearing from you all. I love interacting with you. So let me know. Let me know what's going on. If you have something you think that needs to be covered on the show that I need to talk about, send it to me, especially if it's timely. But with that, I've been Nathan Hale. This has been Spin Cycle Live. I'll see you all again on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.